Yakker starts here.
Let's get digital. Digital, I want to get digital. Can you hear my laptop duck?
Welcome to another Yakker, the somewhat regular show where a bunch of switched-on tech troubadours demystify digital for your delectation from an eyrie in the clouds above Manchester. That's England in EM to you American folks. I'm Dave Thackeray.
I'm Dan Nolan from the E-Word.
Chris Marsh from Melbourne Server Hosting.
Ian Patson from Discerning Digital.
And lots more adverts to come. It's good to see you guys. Thanks for joining us. We're on the very big table at Studio North. Lots of exciting news to come. How's everyone doing? What's the general feel today? We're missing a couple of kind of regular people, or at least one anyway. Dan, what's been going on with you?
Things are great at the E-Word at the moment. We off the back of an award win last week, so we're buzzing in the office.
Congratulations.
Things are busier than ever.
Yeah, like Daniel said, it's that time of year when the award ceremony starts showing their rearing their faces, so it's a nice excuse to get the penguin outfits ready and dusted down. Rears. That's it. So
one or two, lots to talk about there as well, Ian.
And of course, this is a time when the consultants start to do some real work. We're not involved in any awards. We're just transforming businesses.
It's all about the awards, isn't it? You just need recognition, you guys. You're yearning for it. I like it. Well, there's plenty of reasons for awards in Manchester, full of this kind of stuff. We're going to dig straight into the News 9, which is the first of a regular series of great insights into what's happening in Manchester and further afield. And further afield is what we're all about. The first story I've got, I'm Dave Thackeray, by the way, for what it matters, here to tend the crowds, is gov.uk. I don't know if any of you folks have checked it out recently. It's the speed at which gov.uk has become the accepted norm for services coming out of Whitehall. I think it's nothing short of phenomenal. Number 10, ironically, David Cameron might have something to say about that, was the last department to join the new website, which actually was given a pretty prestigious design gong this year, which I thought was rich rewards. It's simple, it's intuitive. I guess it's a match made in mobile heaven. It's responsive, it's ready for anything. And it's a heck of a lot cheaper than Business Link, which Rory Kethlen-Jones said cost something like £105 million over 3 years. Clearly not using Melbourne hosting.
Yeah.
Wait, anybody had a chance to check out the new gov.uk site? Just any impressions?
I'm an avid user of government eServices myself. Just try and save time. I can't stand waiting in post office queues, so the more the better for me.
So far so good. I know manchester.gov.uk has had a bit of an overhaul recently, hasn't it? And that's been saying no more time on queues, get online, something like that. Seems to be the way of the future. Good stuff. Right, and I believe we've got something from Chris.
Yeah, well, speaking on government initiatives and something a bit closer to home, one of the great things that Manchester Digital's doing is, I think it's, from my perspective and the way I look at it, is that it's got a real focus on demystifying apprenticeships. Why should businesses take on apprentices? What's the correct procedure? Are these guys going to waste their time? Should they be paid? What are the HR issues around them? So, but they're still trying to bring a real focus to the fact that there's a lot of good talent in Manchester coming out of universities and young people that are coming out of colleges or whatever, that businesses can really, really take the benefit from the young people it's about. So as I say, they're putting this thing together where it's really trying to match apprentices with companies in Manchester from a digital perspective.
Could only be a good thing, I would have thought. Sounds like a good plan. It's a strange dichotomy, isn't it, as well, as you've got these kind of elderly statesmen of business who see the youngsters as terrorising business, and then at the same time they're actually going to be the future of business. And it's just very difficult kind of tampering down on those old guys who just don't like the new regime. And so the apprenticeships have just got to take the leash and start pulling us in some direction or other. Dan?
Absolutely, and staying with Manchester Digital, actually, we've got someone who may well be working on the apprenticeship matching scheme. That's Rachel Thompson, who has just joined Manchester Digital as Events and Marketing Manager. She'll be working on the Skills and Talent Programme and promoting employment opportunities, and I think that is something that the Manchester Digital team do really well, and they've recognised recently with research into the skills gap in particular that there is a need there is a need amongst businesses to get young people in who are of a certain quality and a certain calibre necessary for doing a good job. So I'm sure Rachel's going to do a great job there, and we all wish her the best of luck.
There's no skills gap at the E-word. That was Dan Nolan, the top guy, the big cheese at E-word. He's actually taken the place of Al Mackim. We've got an extraordinarily astute Google tonight. Unfortunately, he's just changed his name. Another fantastic guest tonight, Ian Patterson. Story for us today?
Yeah, I thought I'd go social on this one, social media. It's all the vogue. And I'd delve a little bit into Pinterest, who it was announced very recently that they're providing more descriptive pins. So what that means to the layman on the street is they're partnering basically with brands like Netflix, eBay, Sony. And the point of that is, rather than just spending lots of time on Pinterest looking at pictures, the idea is to make the site a little bit more sticky, you hang around a bit longer. So say, for example, a picture of a blueberry pie. Actually, now you can see the recipe that makes it. And for Netflix, they could see the cast of a TV show. Okay. Obviously, Sony would explain who's getting what money for music rights, potentially. I don't know. But that's what this new angle is for Pinterest, to get brands more involved. Don't know whether there's money changing hands there or not. But another interesting thing on Pinterest is they're expanding into mobile as well a little bit more, enhancing their mobile presence with the quite familiar pin it button. They're making that button available so you can put it in other people's apps, which I think is quite a tactical move for Pinterest.
It seems to be about the whole, you've got all these different social networks and they're trying to get the play in all of the other different social networks. It came unstuck with Instagram and Twitter. Talking about sticky pictures, something that I'm quite proud of in my spare time. Now, thanks for that. And getting unstuck, I hope, is Adobe. Very, very recently they announced that instead of you, say, going out to the shop and buying your Creative Suite, they're now no longer going to upgrade your Creative Suite unless you subscribe, which to me seems absolutely ridiculous. This is the whole problem with Adobe. They messed up with Flash. They got into all that furore with Apple. Didn't work out quite nice at all. And now your only option, if you want to stay up with the cool cats, is £47 a month for your Creative Cloud, which effectively gives you super access to all of the applications. That's on a year-by-year basis. If you want to do it on a rolling month-by-month contract, £70 a month. I mean, it wouldn't be for me to say that there are torrents out there, but what do you guys think about that? Do you think there are companies who are going to see this as a good thing, or is this actually going to stop a lot of people using Creative Suite because they like the idea of ownership?
I think they've got the monopoly at the end of the day, so they can kind of call the shots on what they want to do, really. Yeah,
and when you look at the actual cost of Creative Suite and of getting, licenses for Photoshop, I think this actually pay-as-you-go kind of approach will actually increase accessibility to smaller businesses, although in the long run they are going to pay more.
Doesn't sound like an award-winning job to me. Chris, tell us about some fantastic awards.
It's funny that you say that, actually. Yeah. So this week, as I mentioned, there's a few award ceremonies going on, but the interesting ones from Prolific North, which was kind of spawned out of the old How Do situation from last year, and fair play to Nick Jasper and his team. They've really come to market and really built a strong brand, I feel, in the last few months. So they decided to put this award ceremony together, really to celebrate and showcase the media industry on the whole. And the media industry, it is just so vast that it does include digital creatives. There's TV in there. There's radio. There's paper. There's just so many different types of companies in there which all came together just last Thursday at Lancashire Cricket Ground. And we just had a top night, a really, really interesting night. So some of the winners on the night, Stein IAS, if I can get my words out, won 3 awards on the night, which is good for them. A couple of companies from Liverpool, Opposing won the best app of the year, and some other companies, again mentioned PR company Peppermint Soda. Lancashire Life actually won best magazine. So it's as I say, it is celebrating all different types of media, and then we've got our own. The E Word winning, picking up a gong as well. Well
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So yeah, again, just a really good night. A lot of like-minded people in the same room, enjoying a few drinks, having a good time, but celebrating what good work is done in the industry and just celebrating that.
Well,
absolutely, yeah.
Tension between Liverpool and Manchester, they're both sharing the spoils.
That's it. So it was a really good night. There's details on the Prolific North website, prolificnorth.co.uk, hopefully we'll be celebrating again next year.
I believe Prolific Awards also had a very visible and very trustworthy sponsor.
Apparently so, yeah. So I was lucky enough to do a very short welcome speech, which I, with the spirit of social media, condensed into 140 characters, which I think went down well in terms of
black hoodie as well. Picture the scene. Chris Marsh tonight wearing a black hoodie with a very purple logo on. Boss will be proud of him. We'll have the Big Chip Awards talking about that later as well, further on in the awards roster. So if you're thinking you're good enough, then you've just got about enough time to pitch yourself in there, which would be quite nice. Now, Dan, the current bun is looking at new revenue channels. It
is indeed. They have just, in fact, announced that they're going to go behind a paywall from August the 1st of this year. The new service will be called Sun Plus. You can see what they did there.
Adventurous.
The plus means it's better. News International, they're really pitching their hopes on this one. It's going to be £2 a week. And of course, when you sort of weigh that up against the cover price, the one thing that they're really hoping for is that the Premier League rights are going to encourage people to pay this £2 a week subscription fee for the Sun Plus website. They've paid £30 million to show near live highlights of the Barclays Premier League matches. So they're really pinning their hopes on that one, enticing a few sign-ups for the website come August and the new football season.
Fantastic. There seems to be quite a lot of stuff going on about football this season. I know BT are launching Sport, aren't they, which is you can get for a few quid extra, you can get free if you're an Infinity broadband customer
absolutely.
On an app and stuff. Would you pay £2 for the Sun? I wouldn't pay for that in paper.
Absolutely not. I mean, in terms of the Premier League aspect of it, and obviously I'm a football fan myself, so I like to catch up with the goals. ESPN's got a great app on the iPhone. I'm not sure about Android, and they pretty much show goals straight after the match is finished, which is great on a Saturday. It's quite revolutionary, really, considering the past 10-15 years you have to wait until match of the day or one of the games on Sky Sports. So I certainly wouldn't use it for Premier League.
I think the only winners here are United. Seems to be the way this season's been the case. I'm sure it'll continue to be so. Being a very mournful, noisy fan of the Everton persuasion, I'm still crying tears of disappointment there. Please make yourself a disaster. Now, Out of This World is what they pitch when they talk about discerning digital, Ian Patterson. And it seems that you've got a story that is quite literally extraterrestrial.
I think it might be, actually. This is one about Google and NASA partnering up to create a brand new quantum computing initiative called D-Wave 2, which kind of implies that there was a D-Wave 1, and I think there was. You can feel free to research that yourselves. It's going to be focused on breakthroughs in artificial intelligence. Google also thinks that it'll help with their computing power, so web searches, speech recognition technology, which is only going to get more and more important, I think. It's going to be the most advanced commercially available quantum computer. But interestingly, it's backed by Amazon founders and also the CIA. Ooh. So that's one for the conspiracy theorists there. And quite a few universities, actually, all based in the States. But of course, we all know that quantum computers, aka supercomputers, help model space weather and also help us explore, now I'm going to say this, magnetohydrodynamics. Thank you.
Somebody give the man a Budweiser.
We're just one step closer to the computers being self-aware, aren't we? It's just artificial intelligence.
Skynet.
It's Skynet.
Thanks for the translation there, Chris. I was floundering.
Yeah.
Two of those words I got.
I think it did need translating, that one. I'm not sure even Google know what they're doing. But
I'm disappointed you didn't make reference to one small step, but...
Yeah.
Out the door for you, Marty. That's what that one is. Interesting. I was reading something today on Forbes about Larry Page, and it was talking about all these billionaires under 40, and I felt ridiculously depressed. I was going to reach for the paracetamol, but I realised that tonight we were going to be recording Yakker, and everything felt good with the world again. And I don't want you thinking, talking Google, that you're going to be stepping on Goog Dan's shoes tonight.
Well, I tried my best. But
He's coming up in just a few seconds, but last I just want to finish off News 9 with a quick chat about the story about Tim Cook. Now, Slashgear is saying they don't think he's up to the job. They've seen him, they've speculated, as all tech bloggers have. They think he just hasn't quite got that panache, that vigour, that joie de vivre that Apple really needs to take itself to the next level. Seems like it's in a rare predicament right now. You know, where the product's coming from, it's changing its interface, it's going down the 2D route. All this talk of skeuomorphism, which is all about kind of taking a physical object and sort of replicating it in the digital world, that hasn't come to naught, it wouldn't seem. I think they paid $35 million for the Swiss railway clock, just so that they could use it as a clock on their iOS devices. That's Apple for you. Do we think Tim Cook needs to tag team with somebody like Steve Wozniak? Do you think he's got what it takes? Has he got the mettle? Because I'm a big Android fan. I'm loving this.
I think any business needs a really strong leader, and in Steve Jobs, Apple obviously had an iconic leader for an iconic brand. Whether Tim Cook has that same kind of iconography is questionable, and perhaps with Steve Wozniak by his side for 6 or 12 months, they could refine the firm's direction together.
I think it's always brilliant. Everybody loves it when they see a company headed by such an inspirational figure, but it's rare. And to expect when that person's gone to be able to recreate that just because you're one of the world's most powerful companies, it's that rare. Yeah. I don't think you can just buy that. So
yeah. Well, it's obviously true with biggest brand in Manchester at the moment, Manchester United. Ferguson's gone now. Somebody else is going in there. There's massive expectation. There's also massive expectation of what's going to happen at Everton now. So you're absolutely right. It does. All these brands that need a leader, is the expectation still there? Will they carry on doing what they were doing before? Do they need to do something different?
Like Apple, the Toffees have got nothing to lose, Chris. We've got nothing to fear. And a great News 9 there for Yakker. Hope you enjoyed that. Now, who've we got? Dan Nolan, the consummate professional. I have to say, I've never heard from you before you came on tonight. I know you're a blistering show so far. So I don't know what Al's going to think of this. I don't know whether he's going to let himself back on now. He'll be going with his tail between his legs. So, Dan Nolan, the Goog Dan of our generation. Do you want to kick things off with your fabulous segment?
Why not? Well, the big news at the moment from Google, obviously, we've just had Google I.O., which is their annual developer conference. It takes place every year out in San Francisco. Now, this year, they really did push the emphasis even further onto talking to developers as part of the conference program. So there are lots of announcements around software and tools and new features for products that they've got out. Unusually, for a Google I.O. conference, hardware took a bit of a back seat, and we didn't see any new Nexus devices this year. Certainly, a lot of people thought there was going to be an updated Nexus 7 unveiled, but it was a no-show. It was all about software and products this year. Having said that, ironically, there was one piece of kit that really did hog the limelight, and that was Google Glass. Now, if you're not familiar with Google Glass, just imagine that scene with Arnie at the beginning of Terminator 2, where he walks around the bar. It's a bit like that, But instead of Arnie looking for a leather jacket that fits, it's Google results that are flashing before your eyes rather than schematics of people's clothing. It's basically wearable tech, and it looks a bit like a pair of glasses, but without the frames in them. What you get instead of the frames is a little display, and it beams information directly in front of your right eye. So the information might be stuff to do with the weather, as if you can't tell whether it's raining or not.
I think we need that.
More usefully, perhaps, you could have maps or directional information. So you're trying to navigate your way to a meeting or something. You've got the information right there in front of your face.
I need that.
Exactly. It will just completely wipe out the problem of people walking into lampposts, presumably. As well as the directional stuff, there's a raft of other hands-free applications that come with the device. So you can take photos using voice activation. You can also dictate and send messages via the glasses. So it's a bit like, in that respect, it's a bit like Siri, the Apple product, but you can strap it to your head. And I think the one thing about that is if it's going to be successful around the world, they will have to get the voice recognition spot on, because I know Siri has a terrible time understanding me, so we'll see how these do.
That most people do, though, Dan, to be fair. Not just machines.
I am told that.
Although I do think they've got a supercomputer set up to help with that, so...
Yeah.
Sponsored tonight.
Yeah, by
Don't
NASA.
trust it. The CIA are involved. Don't trust it.
Oh, no.
Dan, question about the Google Glass. We did cover that in our -1 episode of Yakker that nobody will ever hear. This the director's cut.
Right.
There was talk from Sergey Brin that it wasn't going to be launched to the mainstream this year, but apparently one of the breakout sessions at Google I/O, they were talking all about the fact that it's going to be out in 2013.
Yeah, well, this is the subject of some debate at the moment, whether it'll be the tail end of the year or it'll go into next year. Either way, we are really looking at the early adopter market at the moment with this product, because the price tag that's being bandied about, and steady yourselves a moment, is $1,500 for some of these spectacles. So it's quite steep, and it'll be the real technophiles who invest in this early on. But the weird thing was, people are saying, Glass could just be months off, and yet in the Google keynote speech at I/O, it was given only a fleeting mention. Far more enthusiasm and time was reserved for the developer panels and what they call the fireside chats, where things like native apps from Twitter, Facebook, and eBay were revealed, and they were really garnering interest. And I think it'll be that interest and that kind of buzz that'll be instrumental in them shifting these at $1,500 a pop to begin with.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing for me will be if you think back 3 years when people started coming out with iPads. And it was almost like, look at him, he's got an iPad. Let's have a look at that. And now it's, look at him, he's not even got an iPad. It's just it's become one of those things that everyone's got. They're easily accessible. The price has come down. But I suppose it was one of those. That's so expensive. It's a tablet. I'm not going to use it. I've got a laptop. When am I going to use a tablet? So I look forward to the point where everyone's walking around the streets with.
Would you wear?
Yeah, definitely.
Glass?
I'm really excited about it. Yeah, very excited. Yeah.
Any concerns?
Have the Melbourne hosting logo on it.
Fully branded.
Projected on your eye.
Yeah.
What about the concerns? I mean, people are talking about privacy, the fact that it's intrusive as technology.
Yeah, you've got to wonder if somebody sat right across from you wearing them, what are they doing? There are some funny video. There is one funny video that I've seen actually after. Another time,
it's the Northern Quarter, isn't it? The Northern Quarter boys, they love this kind of stuff.
You just don't want that stuff recording. That's the only thing.
You'd be really careful what you say in front of people, because it could be recorded.
$3,000 gold plated.
I think there's a chance in coffee houses you could be there. A lot of people go for a coffee to have a private conversation. And you could be being filmed surreptitiously and not know it. And that's.
But saying that, we've all got phones on the table who say that we've not got these recorded at the moment. I mean, but saying that, data protection for me, it is a big thing. What data is out there? What have you said that you can expose to the general public, and what's available to be bought? So how's that different to visual information and audio as well?
Forget about data protection. I believe every delegate was given a Chromebook Pixel, completely free of charge.
Google.
And they don't even have to hand them back, and they didn't even have to sign disclaimers to say that they'd take them away.
No.
I mean, clearly we're missing a trick here. What we're doing
This is it. Cash to splash, Google.
$1,500. How much does it cost to go to an I/O event? Are we talking thousands, or do you actually get
I think delegate tickets are certainly pretty expensive. But the thing, it's interesting that you talk about revenue in relation to Google, because a lot of the things that came out of I/O were signs of them moving to make more, certainly make more from customers. Because when you think about their biggest product, which is organic search, they're most widely used and well known, it's even become a verb, it makes them no money. To Google something is free. It's through things like the Chromebook, Glass, even some of the new products that they talked about at the conference. It's through those things that they make money.
I believe they lose money, don't they, on the handsets, Google? So the only reason they want to sell the handsets is so you can use the apps and the services, but they actually run the hardware at a loss. Yeah.
239 for that kind of caliber of handset smartphone is ridiculous, though, isn't it, for what they pack in? Tell me quickly, before we move on to Google offers, about the Google Play All Access, which is the Spotify killer. Do you know anything about this? Because it sounds pretty tempting.
This was another thing that came out of I/O. They announced Google Music All Access, which is being sort of billed as a rival to Spotify, like you say. There are a couple of drawbacks at the moment from my point of view. There's no free version. It's been announced. So obviously, as with Spotify, you can listen for free as long as you're willing to put up with completely annoying adverts every sort of 3 songs. You can do that for free, though. And also at the moment, the Music All Access product, there's no iOS support. So there's no native app for iOS devices. That you'll have to use it in browser, and I think that'll be a drawback for iPhone users who could, certainly if they're Spotify users who are willing to pay the sort of $10 a month for the premium mobile version, they'll just stick with that rather than switching to Google.
Spotify, your time might not quite yet be over. So Google offers then. I want to find out about this, something I'd never heard of before. Dan, can you tell us more?
Yeah, it's basically a commercial system that Google partners with brands and sort of, gets offers from them that can offer exclusively through its content networks and distribute them to Google users. And the interesting thing that came out of Google I/O with regards to offers was their integration with Google+. Now, obviously, this being a Google conference, there was some mention of Google+. And with this social network, depending on who you listen to, it's either the second most popular social network in the world, or it's nothing like that, and it's just a data source for Google.
Yeah.
Whichever of those it may be, Google won't stop talking about it. Obviously, it's their job to promote it. And one thing they've spoken about very recently at the conference is integrating Google offers within Google+, so they'll be able to show special offers and things like that. It's quite limited at launch. There's only a few brands. Zagat, anyone? No?
I've not heard of them.
No. Adafruit Industries is one of the partners contributing Google offers, and one that you will all know, Hello Kitty. So you'll get big discounts on Hello Kitty products through Google+. But basically, it's another reason, like with the benefits that Google Plus has on for organic listings, it's another USP that Google's trying to build into the product and encourage people to use it. And I think if you can gain access to and share special offers with your networks, it's only going to be a good thing.
Facebook deals never went anywhere, did it? Somewhat similar. There was some sort of Facebook deal, a bit like your Groupon style, but baked into Facebook, a social network where blank faces around the room telling me that I'm either ahead of the curve or you guys need sleep. But yeah, I'm not really sure. I think Google's kind of manipulated itself into so many territories now. We've seen so many failures where it's whipped the carpet from under our very feet. Google Reader, prime example. Wave, another example. All this buzz. There's all these different things that it's just testing the water to see what floats, right, at the end of the day. And I don't know whether it's kind of done enough market research among the wider population to figure out whether it's going to work.
Yeah, I think it's got money to burning away so it can act like a startup in some new markets. I mean, some people say you need a war to bring out the best innovation in people, and it's when you all pull together and you all focus on one goal for the greater good that you can invent amazing things, and wars generate lots of amazing inventions. But Google just seems to be doing it as a huge, great commercial enterprise, and for that you've got to give them credit. They're doing some amazing things.
Well, I think we just generated the new era of communism there. Debate
with the space travel as well. I mean,
kicking out a blue cover for his smartphone. Oh, I like you for that. I don't know what you were talking about, but it sounded quite convincing. Good man. Dan Nolan, the big boss from the E-Word, there with Google via Goog. Dan, thank you for that insight there. Very fascinating stuff on what's going on in Google. Now, how easy is it really to baffle a client with digibabble? I mean, we've all done it. We've all been guilty of saying things that perhaps didn't need to be said. And I'm looking at your super simple watch there, and I've not seen a throwback to watches like that for many, many years. Picture the scene, it's a calculator on a watch. It's like pressing
retro.
Casio.
And tapping
Casio. I always wanted one from a grabber machine at Butlins, and
I think we should give
finally
that away.
bought one.
Yakker's first competition. Discuss that after the break. But yeah, this is the interesting thing, isn't it? And Discerning Digital is going to tell us all what it's all about. But this whole digital jargon thing, set the scene for us, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about jargon and kind of its misuse, I suppose. So imagine the scenario. I think agencies and consultants like myself try and use technical words to describe lots of different things, and typically they talk to people who aren't technical. So I wanted to put it to you, gents, that I think that may be a problem for certain people, and to do that I thought it'd be great to deconstruct how these people feel. So if you're in a room using words that they don't quite have a frame of reference for, they have no context for, and you're there to solve a problem. So you're actually there to help them achieve something, either with their business or their lives, whatever their brand may be. It may be a charity, I don't know. They already feel exposed by digital in their lives mainstream. So they feel a bit exposed by it because their grandchildren know more about this stuff than they do. They might feel exposed because there might be peer pressure from people in their business to achieve certain objectives or to trial this stuff. And when you go in and you start to use tech, and you might even not know that you're doing it, I think people just do it automatically. And I think that's the area with this subject I want to explore, that people just do it without thinking, I suppose. It makes them feel quite uneasy about it all. I've got some pretty good examples. I mean, it was a video that I watched on TED that sparked all of this off, which was called Talk Nerdy to Me. And it was about how everybody loves science, but nobody really wants to engage with scientists because they're so alien to their world. So this lady, and we can get the resources on the website, and the link there explains that when you've got the context and the information behind what scientists are trying to say, then you by all means talk nerdy to me. But before then, don't you dare, because it's not fair, really, because nobody else geeks out like that. I don't expect a bathroom fitter to come in and talk to me about all the widgets and the little fandangos and pipes and tubes, because I'd just say, look, I'm not interested. I want a bathroom, and I want a bathroom so I can wash and get clean.
And yet some of them will do.
They will.
Some of them will. For their own business interests.
That's right.
Your double widget's gone.
Yeah.
You're going to need a new replacement.
Yeah. Triple widget's the way to go.
I found out there's a flux capacitor in my toilet today from my plumber.
Yeah.
And he just charged me £60 just to tell me that.
Yeah. So I think there's a real thought process there. Is I hate the phrase, but non-digital people, and some people use the phrase non-digital natives. I think it's just terrible, but people that don't understand jargon is a better description, and those people feel, well, they're not as excited about people who do this. I think one of the things I've tried to do, and it's been pretty painful over the past 6 months, is disassociate myself from the digital world and tried to be more human with it all.
Yeah.
So part of that has been admitting that actually I like my day job and it's my hobby as well. So I do geek out and I love all the tech talk and I love going into Google Analytics and I love all that data mining and all that nonsense. But when I talk to clients, they don't understand it.
Yeah.
And they look at you with an odd smirk on their face. And I think everyone in this room could probably admit that there's a time where you know you've lost them.
Yeah.
And you're really excited about it, and you're saying like, oh, and there's this great new feature, and they're just looking at you like thinking, this guy's excited about something, but I am not excited about this subject.
Yeah.
And I wish we'd just talk about something else, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And imagine if they did that to you when you walk into their building, they started going on about their products, you'd just think, this guy's a loon. and I think digital people have got that label, and I think it's time to stop, to change things.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, not to go into a sales speech, but I think knowing your buyer is a big, it plays a big part of that. And certainly from my role, when I'm showing people what I can offer them from a business perspective, I'm showing people the data centers, a real sort of hands-on, flashing lights, real technology. And some people get it, and some people love it. Other people sort of wander around, and I know they're not going to ask me any questions because they just want a business tool that's going to help them and solve the problems and not cause many issues, and that's it, and that's fine. So you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a difficult balance.
I think there's a time and a place to talk technical. So I'm not saying it's just that it's rare, and it should be used carefully. I think
I'm a big believer in analogy. As a business tool and communicating, because obviously SEO is hardly the world's most glamorous. So it's not even marketing's most glamorous subject.
Sure.
And it's quite technical at times as well. But you can't expect to walk into a business and come out with stuff like, your backlink profile is very, very negative. We're going to have to use the disavow tool to blacklist some of those links. Ridiculous. You can't say that. You've got to come out and explain it in real terms that make sense to the business owners you're talking to.
Yeah,
somebody I know very well used the word concatenate last week. I've not spoken to him ever since for that precise reason. You get to the point where you've got to say no.
Yeah.
What's the other one? Canonicalization?
Canonicalization. Yeah.
See, only a search expert could say that word. I can't say that word.
I think Apple have hit it dead on the head, though, haven't they? And we talked about that skeuomorphic thing before about, they take the real, they make it digital, the digital is then the exoskeleton to the functionality. The functionality is what it's all about. But they do this in every industry, don't they? We talked before about the plumber, the roofer, the car salesman.
Yeah.
They're all there to poison our minds with their own.
I do think to some extent they feel it justifies a fee, because if they sound clever and baffle people with science, then they're clever people and they must know what they're talking about. And I think in the early days of digital, when there was less buzzwords, that was almost acceptable. It's like, this is a clever guy, he's talking about a subject, and I trust him. Yeah. But now it's so mainstream to use words like that, it just alienates people because technology isn't a niche anymore. It touches everybody's lives. So you just can't get away with using the jargon. Yeah. And I think the jargon just needs... I mean, one question for you, in search... is why it was ever referred to as traffic. I mean, these are people using websites and
I think that's a
treating
good
them like cars. They're not cars on a motorway.
I would relate it to the phrase, wherever it came from, information superhighway. And traffic along that. And I don't know who first came up with the notion of people on the internet driving cars. It just doesn't happen.
A bit ahead of the time, maybe.
Yeah, although Google apparently working on a driverless car, so a bit of a link.
Yeah. Could be, yeah.
The usability aspect, though, is so important these days, isn't it? It seems to be increasingly more so, the fact that we're trying to make everything intuitive, yet at the same time, those people who work on the intuition and the usability are actually the ones that are trying to baffle us the most, which kind of throws me a little bit. I don't try and go Freudian, but maybe it's got a little bit to do with insecurity, and that we've always been the darkened bedroom boys.
Well, tech
sort of brings different air.
It's IT people, and I'm not trying to give them a label, but it's typically men, and I think I feel for women in business, of which there are a hell of a lot of talented business women in Manchester, and I think they feel even more alienated by it, but not scared by it, more just think that's really lame and sad that people try to use those words and hide behind them. And I think it's definitely like alpha male, red type on the scale. People are really confident and like to use those words, and that's one of the things. I think people that are secure and safe in their own server room. I mean, I can really see a value here in people that interface between them and.
Are you proposing a revolution here, though? Ian?
What with people from server room?
Differently.
It's schools. We need to get females interested at school level. For me, it's the 9 and 10-year-olds before the peer pressure starts.
Absolutely,
the girls think that coding's cool.
Yeah,
for me,
I completely agree. I think that there should be many more women in our industry, in digital, in technology and IT, and it's. Yeah, I think my industry, my background is design, and there was hardly any. Female designers when I was younger in my career, and it's even worse. I think in IT, it's quite shocking. I think actually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm looking to my right at the Master of Ceremonies, Michael De Paula here, thinking it's about time we had a lady on Yakker. Well, we have been through the motions quite some times now. Maybe on the 4th episode, even though it'll kind of be the 2nd, we might get some estrogen into play. July's looking good. If you are interested in finding out what's happening in the mind and the eye of the lady form when it comes to geeky stuff, there's a fantastic Twitter account called @LadyGeek, and she is quoted widely in all the national newspapers and stuff, and she's got a lot to say and kind of patronising this movement for more feminine touch in tech. So, interesting. Ian, thank you so much for joining us. I'll have a little bit more from you later. Not so much later, though, I've got to say, because we're not a million miles away from wrapping up at this point. And we've got seagulls here ushering us out. The new security guard has got a beak. We'll move on to events now. Yakker's finest. We've got a few events here to talk about, but I'm going to kick things off with one to challenge us all, because I know how important it is these days. And we talked about ladies in code, very, very important that we all grasp the nettle and we all learn what goes on behind the scenes. A lot of a movement towards Arduino these days and the Raspberry Pi, the Internet of Things. So there's this renewed excitement about programming. And on Thursday the 30th of May, yes, you can come too. If you couldn't hear that, that was another gull coming from me pasty. Thursday, 30th of May, we've got C++ programming with Qt, which is uppercase Q, lowercase t. If you don't know what it is, you should get yourself along to Manchester Met's John Dalton building, Computer Lab C203. On Thursday, 30th of May, we'll have a link on the website for Yakker to go with this. But Qt is described as the most powerful cross-platform application and UI framework currently used in industry. And you've got a taster here to learn a lot more about what goes into it. I'm quite curious. I think I might take a little bit of a
I'm really quite tempted by that one. Yep.
Worth a go. That's +2 then, please. Eventbrite, if you wouldn't mind so much. And Dan.
Yep, one for the search crowd. It's SASCON early next month. That's the Search, Analytics and Social Media Conference. It takes place in Manchester over 2 days. Basically, a lot of people, eminent figures from within Search, get together and discuss the latest themes and also the changes that are going to be made. And I think with an imminent update to Google Penguin, in the offing, I think this will be very interesting to see what some of the experts at SASCON have to say at the start of June. It's £175 for 1 day, $250 if you want to go on both days.
That's not bad.
And it is a great value conference, and there's lots of expert speakers. So
it's a really good one, actually.
Yeah.
SASCON,
Is this a first for Manchester, or is it annually here?
Annually, yeah.
Yeah,
I've done it a few times now.
Interesting. So it's search, analytics and social.
Yeah. If you want more information, it's on the website at sascon.co.uk.
You'll be seeing some Yakkerites there, it sounds like, by the sounds of things. And
definitely.
Chip on your shoulder, Chris?
Thanks for noticing. Another award ceremony, but again, widely known as the biggest digital creative award ceremony outside of London, Big Chip Awards. This will be the 15th one, so it has been going for quite a while. Quite a prestigious award ceremony over at the Palace Hotel on the 27th of June. So they've just announced the shortlist. So some great digital companies representing in the shortlist there. So best of luck to them. Really trying to sort of even though it's run by Manchester Digital, it was always seen as a Manchester-based event. I think they're really trying to stretch their wings and again celebrate the great achievements that are that are made by companies in Liverpool, Leeds, Newcastle, and it's just notoriously it's just a really good night, and we're all looking forward to it, I'm sure.
Awards to me feel a bit more of a love-in than they are practical and useful. Do we feel that with Big Chip, it's something that's so well-founded now that it's more than just awards? It's become almost an institution. Has it got value to the Manchester scene, do you think?
I think so. I think it's something that I've always wanted to get involved because I understand what it means to the industry. I think it's always lovely to receive recognition of hard work, and you will hear of companies that perhaps you haven't heard of before, so it's great for getting your brand out there. But as I say, I think at the end of the day, it's just a massive piss up.
An organised one. Yeah.
Well organised.
Don't pull your punches,
Very well organised.
Okay, it's the Big Brand Wrap. There's my very best M&M for you, starring none other than Chris Marsh in Purple and Black tonight, as you know very well. Is this because you're embarrassed by your footballing nature? You don't want to wear blue and white or anything like that because, just in case people might find you. They might think you're the new Everton coach. It's scary, wouldn't it? God bless us all. Now, is your glass half full or half empty? It doesn't matter because today we're talking Tumblr.
See what you did there. Well done. So I think unless you've been hiding under a rock, that's how I feel. You just everyone seems to have heard of this impending news that's going to apparently come out today that the Yahoo want to buy Tumblr for $1 billion. Let's all do the Dr. Evil pinky. It's crazy. I mean, it's a crazy amount of money. Obviously, there's a crazy amount of just people wanting to comment on it. It's bizarre for me. It's bizarre in a way that Yahoo just want a bit of PR, in my opinion, and they've not really talked much on from a PR stance recently. So they want to do something big. They want to do something interesting. This is all rumours, by the way, but there is a lot of talk about it, so it does look like it is going to go ahead. That Yahoo are going to acquire Tumblr for $1 billion.
Stop press, I believe it's just happened.
Really? Past 20 minutes. It is one of those interesting things. For me, Tumblr is just a massitive porn site, not just for me, I'm sure. I'm sure that says a lot of things about how I use it. No, well, they say 11.5% of all visitors are coming from an X-rated perspective. There's a lot of unnecessary and unethical images on there, but there's also a lot of lovely stuff on there. There's some really interesting blogs on there. There's 50 billion posts apparently. I don't know who sat there and counted those. 108 million blogs, launched in 2007. So it is a big thing. It is a big deal. I suppose it's one of those things that we'll see what happens with it. But there seems to be a bit of an uproar. What's the point of it? Is it going to be another monetization exercise? I don't know. I mean, open it up. Do you guys use Tumblr? Do you find it useful?
I think it's as you say. There are some adult sites on there, and there are some really good. Non-adult blogs as well, and I think most of the dissenting voices so far seem to have come from fears that Yahoo will sanitize the whole thing, and close down the adult side of things, and even go as far as censoring individual posts.
Well, don't forget that's what they did with Sumly. Effectively, they integrated that into the Google service, didn't they?
I think I struggle to see what Yahoo gets out of this.
Yeah,
I think they get a lot of brand kind of kudos, I suppose, is what they were hoping for, but actually it's a bit like Tesco buying Ferrari. It's just not cool. Yahoo is not a cool company anymore, and Tumblr is seen by many people as a great vehicle to be creative.
Yeah,
and Yahoo's just proved itself not to be a creative business in my mind.
That's it. Well, they bought Flickr, didn't they? So we're just wondering if they're going to merge the two and call it Fumbler.
Well, there was a lot of fear. He
didn't laugh.
I like it.
Instagram. Look at Instagram now. They've got another 100 million users since Facebook snapped them up. I can see for me a little bit. There's two things. Tumblr started accepting adverts last year, and I think their first annual revenue through adverts was $15 million. So small beans, but therefore there's an entry point for Yahoo. They've broached that. They've won the war. Users know that Tumblr are now going to accept ads, but also I think they've got 100 million users, 10 billion entries. You talk about porn there, Chris. That's somewhere relevant. But you've got this point now where they've got a demographic that is very young, not necessarily warm to Yahoo in its current state. So maybe this is another way that Yahoo can get into that demographic and talk to those people on a different level, on the level that they understand, and maybe sort of subtly start brainwashing them with the Yahoo DNA. But certainly, I don't know whether it's quite got however many billion. What was it? 1.1 billion?
Yeah.
I don't know there's that much value in it.
I think the thing that'll change it for me, because we've got a Tumblr blog, is if you have to sign in with Yahoo, and I think that would that would just make me very annoyed, because Yahoo's signing, the whole way they released it was not a good idea.
Yeah. And what a difference a year makes. So it's a year since Facebook went public. For me, Facebook's one of those things, I guess I always felt it was a little bit of a fad, a little bit of a fashion. I've got to be honest, I'm not a Facebook user anymore. But from an outsider looking in, it seems to be more of a mature-based company. But there's still the common user using it for photographs and everything, but it does seem more of a business tool, and I think that's exactly what Zuckerberg wanted to part of his set out of the past 12 months has been to do. For me, the most interesting thing about it is that it is becoming more of a mobile tool. It's there's all these stats about more and more people using or visiting websites from a mobile device. They announced the Facebook Home, so home screen, so it's very much an Android phone, the Facebook phone, if you like. And the fact that it is more of a on the road, on the mobile tool, as I say. So I think that's where Facebook's gotten up to now, and people are using it from that perspective anyway.
A quick question for Dan on that is that people more and more, don't look threatened, it's exciting this one, honest, throw your curveball in. As people talk more and more about SEO being less and less about the technical aspects, maybe or maybe not that's the truth, but from the outside looking in, and it's more about the original, the relevant, the valuable content. And people are becoming more and more curious and confused about EdgeRank on Facebook. I mean, how you get in the eyes of your customers without splashing out hundreds and hundreds of dollars on each post for a sponsored post or advertising it, whatever, come what may. Is the business of the SEO going to be less and less about worrying about Google and more worrying about how to do Facebook? Mindful of Facebook's looking to try and take over the web. Is that going to happen, and is it going to be more and more important for businesses to kind of find the way in?
I think as it stands, you've got 9 out of 10 web searches are made through Google, and that's a very powerful stat. You can't discount Google. At the same time, you've got the fact that Google and Facebook don't get on, so perhaps Facebook will have their own designs within search. But the question I think you're really driving at there is an interesting one, and it's more to do with the topic of content marketing. And in a marketing mix, whose job is content marketing? Well, if you're content marketing for coverage in Google, the SEO agency will do it. If you're content marketing for the reasons of getting coverage on Facebook, you want likes and shares and comments and things like that, traditionally a PR or social media agency will do it. I think at the end of the day, it's all going to turn into one thing and the same: online messaging, basically PR done online. And it'll be the ability of agencies, whether they're SEO, PR or social media, it'll be their ability to adapt into that new landscape that will determine how successful they are.
Few seconds left. Ian, what are your closing thoughts on Facebook? Is it going to become bigger and bigger and better, or have we seen the best of Mark and his clan?
I think it's only going to get bigger. I mean, there's a bit of a trend at the minute with the youngies to use other IP-based chat tools to talk, and I know Facebook wanted to kind of corner the market on that with their integrated chat. But I still think it's got a place. I think the the need for people to upload pictures, and because of the fact that everybody's just on there, is going to be if you look at it one way, a hard thing to unravel. So it's the place to do things. I think people are just getting a bit sick of it, feeling a bit contrived. They said they weren't going to do mobile ads, and now every other, probably because I've got no friends, but every other post is an ad for me on mobile. Has anybody else experienced that? It's odd that, yeah. It's just me.
I've seen you in an ad on my Facebook. On
Have you?
phone.
Oh, I'm glad someone, sorry, it cost me a bomb.
Mankini would tell you what's in
That was £9 a click, that.
worth every penny.
Great.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much to our splendid roster of guests today on Yakker. We've had Dan Nolan from the E-Word.
Thank you very much.
Ian Patterson from Discerning Digital.
I thank you.
And, of course, Chris Marsh from Melbourne Hosting. Don't forget you can follow along on the conversation at Yakker Podcast, of course, on the Twitter, where Chris will be getting his chest out invariably at some point in the future. Looking forward to that one. Or get over to the website, yakker.co.uk, which is probably where you found this podcast in the first place. Will be available all the usual audio venues. But until next time, thanks for joining us, and God bless digital.